None of the event runners, none of the staff really could have done anything about this. But it is something that I wanted to bring attention to and also maybe make a recommendation for, just because, in my opinion, you have the question of people's safety. Two Twisted Crowns is coming. I promise. I was just gone for 2 weeks on a really big, much needed vacation. And now I'm sick. I just have the rest of the video to edit, basically. I hope you enjoy it when it does come out. But obviously, I'm going to take a little bit of time to recover from this because I'm very tired. However, that is not going to stop me from talking about this event that I attended during my vacation. It was called Camp Unbound, and it is definitely something that I really want to talk to people about. It was a really great time, definitely. I think I would go again, not next year though, mostly because I want to do my own traveling and I can't save up for Camp Unbound and also do the traveling that I want to do. So it's not like a personal issue with the event. I think overall the event was pretty great, but there are some things that I think need to be talked about. It has nothing to do with the event organizers, but is definitely kind of a concern that I wanted to raise, not just about this event, but like for bookish spaces in general. I'll get into that later on. Now, Camp Unbound, what is it? Well, it is a summer camp, a weekend-long summer camp for people who like to read books. The marketing for it seems to definitely be more targeted towards female readers who like to read fantasy and or romance, but there's nothing like specifically saying, oh, this is for fantasy readers. They basically kind of market it as this bookish summer camp. Bookish is like the big word that they like to use, and understandably so. But a lot of the, themes are very magical, very whimsical, which I liked, and that's why I went. I do read fantasy, I do read romance, although my staples are historical fiction, historical romance as well. I can't help it. I'm a sucker for romance, dude. But I still decided to go, and I had a really, really good time. I met one of my friends there, one of my online friends, and it was really fun getting to meet her as well, and it was just a grand old time. And I also made more friends, and that's all I could really ask out of this event, right? I had a good time. This year it took place in Pennsylvania at Camp Timbertops. They were selling the Parent Trap vibes a lot, and honestly, I could see it. It's just the way the bunks are made. It was a good time. It was really hot though. It was really hot. For 2 full days and 2 half days for like check-in and check-out, it was $600. And then there were add-ons, so little packages you could buy to enhance your experience that ranged, I believe, from $35 to $50. Not a bad price at all. If you wanted a private room, I believe it started at $900, but I could be wrong. It could be a little bit less. That being said, it was still more than the basic bunk package where you were like rooming with 8 different people. Understandable. But I did not get the private experience. I don't really think I would pay that much for the private experience. However, if it's ever as hot as it was the first day, I would probably consider it. There was no air conditioning in the basic bunks. I thought maybe there would be like 1 window unit, but that is not what happened. But nobody has control over that, so like that's not, oh, this camp sucked because it was hot, and like, no, it wasn't that at all. It was just one of those unfortunate things where it's like, oh shit, I didn't realize it was going to be this bad. And maybe the event organizers kind of got that message the first day, because from what I've heard, they're likely not going to go to Camp Timbertops again next year. Maybe it's just because they want to try out different places, or maybe the heat thing was like a big deal. But either way, I toughed it out barely. The weather for the rest of the camp was quite nice though, because we had storm systems come through and it really cooled everything down. We actually slept with the windows open, and I think that kind of contributed to my getting sick. But anyway, I'm getting off track. This one is not like, I don't have a script written for this. I just have like an outline. So I'm really sorry if it's like disjointed, but this is just the way my sick addled brain is working today. All right. So there were paid events that you had to buy extra packages for. You had the bar package, which allowed you to drink like unlimited alcohol at the event. There was a bookbinding package, which allowed you to basically rebind a book of yours. Like you had to bring a paperback, and then you tore off the covers and made your own hard cover for your book. I did that one. It was a lot of fun. It was a 2-day thing though, which I didn't anticipate at first, but it makes sense now. Like there was a lot of gluing involved and stuff. And now I know how to rebind a book, and that's really fun. There was a potion making package, which you could do a cocktail making thing or a mocktail making session. I think session is a good word. There were cocktail and mocktail sessions that you could attend, and I think you did like 3 different drinks. And then you also had wine tasting with a book pairing, which was also really fun, but you had to buy one package for each of those. So if you wanted to attend all 3, you had to buy 3 potions packages, which definitely would increase your total. And then finally there was a candle making event that I did not do because I don't need more candles. I have a shit ton of incense and candles in my apartment, by the way. I probably need to get rid of them though, because I have a cat and I heard they're not good for cats, but that's besides the point. I didn't want to make more candles, but it did look really fun from the videos and stuff I saw of it. It was really fun. I did the bar package. I definitely know that I did not get my money's worth because I only had like 5 drinks, and they were like White Claws and stuff. I had like 5 drinks. I think the bar package was like $35. I could be wrong. It could have been more. It might have been 50. I don't remember. I did not get my money's worth out of the bar package, which I do think that they were kind of like banking on, but that's just the nature of event planning, right? But it was nice. It was nice to be able to just like have a drink if I wanted one. I already said this. I did the book binding workshop. I enjoyed it. I ran into a couple little kinks, which I'll kind of get into a little bit later. But overall, it was really fun. I really did enjoy that. And actually, now that the event's over, they kind of sent like an email to all of the campers kind of wrapping things up. And they also sent a guide to the bookbinding so that you can continue doing it after the camp, which I thought was really nice and very sweet of them. I did not do any of the potion making events, but I did do the wine tasting and book pairing. That was also really, really fun. I had a lot of fun with it. I sat with this one girl, I think her name was Marianne. She was really fun to talk to, and we just sort of like chatted a little bit. I didn't get her socials though, sadly, but we chatted and ate crackers and drank wine. And also, I didn't actually expect this, but we got to keep the little wine glass that came with the tasting thing. Like we got to keep that, and it's like branded and stuff. It's really cute. We got to keep the wine glass, and then we also got to pick one of the books that paired with the wine to have for free. And so I got mine. I'm not sure if I'm going to do a review on it because this is a smaller indie author. And I already have a lot of gripes about the writing. That being said, I'm still enjoying what I am reading of the book, like the 5 pages that I've read. But I don't want to like sit here and tear into an indie artist like that because that's fucking mean. I think it would be fun to do and like kind of bring attention to smaller authors, but at the same time I'm very particular about the stuff that I read, and so like I don't want to be an asshole. I don't want to like discourage people from writing by any means. I just think there are a lot of, debut author pitfalls that the author falls into. You know what I mean? So it's like one of those. But I also got it signed, like personally signed, and that was really fun. That was a good one. I really enjoyed that. However, I will say there was one table at the wine tasting that would not shut up. We had somebody running the event and was trying to like explain the notes in these wines and like kind of explain what's going on, what we're tasting and where the wines come from, etc. And I was really interested in that. And I was sitting at a table that was like closest to this person running the event. They even had a microphone. She wasn't really holding the microphone, quote unquote, properly, like not straight up to her mouth like it should be. Like microphones are annoying to work with, honestly. So the microphone wasn't necessarily fully working, but also that one table was just so freaking loud that I could not hear what the hell she was saying half the time. So it was just so inconsiderate and like rude. And like the dining hall itself did not have the best acoustics. That's where it was being held. The dining hall didn't have the best acoustics, but also it's just like be respectful of the person who's trying to make this event enjoyable for others, But like I get it. It's a camp. People are having fun. People are excited. But we're adults. Like, why the hell are you talking over this poor woman who's trying to explain what a fucking Pinot Noir is, Anyway, despite that, it was still a wonderful experience. I'm really glad I did it. And then there was the candle making. I didn't do that. I don't need candles. I already said that. But anyway, on top of the paid events, there were a lot of unpaid events. There was archery, which I did, and it was really fun. I've done archery before at like a YMCA camp when I was 12. It was still really fun. I liked doing it a lot. The woman who was instructing the archery people, in my opinion, was really good at it. She was really great at explaining things, and I understood what had to happen, and I did just fine. So there was that. There's also this fantasy fitness warrior training thing that they were doing. I initially was considering doing it, but I wound up not going to any of them. It was really hot outside, and honestly, I don't really think assassin training is like my thing. The woman who like led this stuff has her own online fitness course training thing that seems to be quite successful. My friend is doing one of the online course things, and she's having a good time. She like was so excited to meet the proprietor, I guess, of the fantasy fitness stuff, and that was really cool, and I was really happy that she got to do that. It's just the fantasy fitness thing just really isn't for me. I don't know, I didn't feel like doing it, so I didn't. There was kickball. I wanted to do kickball, but I also didn't do it because it was really hot outside and I was already kind of feeling exhausted. Spoiler alert, I got sick halfway through camp. So I basically missed out on the entire second half of things, which kind of sucks, but it was still a nice opportunity to rest and relax and read a book. You know what I mean? So anyway, I wanted to do the kickball, but I didn't because it was hot and I was already tired. I heard people playing kickball and it seemed like a lot of fun. One of the friends I met said that she did it and she was like, wow, yeah, that was like super fun. I was just really tipsy and also doing kickball, and it was just like a grand old time. People dressed up in their little fantasy outfits and played more kickball, and like that sounded awesome. If I had been feeling up for it, I definitely would have attended. I loved playing kickball when I was a kid, but unfortunately I was just a little sick. There was also Pirate Wars, which I'm assuming is like some sort of, I don't know, maybe Survivor type challenges or some sort of relay that was on the lake. That also seemed like a lot of fun. There were like some videos that I saw floating around of the Pirate Wars, and it seemed like a blast, but again, I was sick, so I didn't do it, but I wanted to. There was a friendship bracelet station. That was more of just like a come and go as you want thing. I did that. I had a lot of fun doing it. My friend and I both made friendship bracelets, and we sat with other people who came and did theirs, and we were just like chatting and trying to figure out how to like tie the string the right way. And it was a lot of fun. I liked how unstructured it was. You could just come and go as you wanted. As is the case with a lot of friendship bracelet stations, certain letters and numbers just ran out faster than others. I didn't want to use a shit ton of letters, so I didn't want to spell out Camp Unbound 2026, right? But I did want CU26 just to have it, you know, but there were no twos. So I just had CU and a little like pearl pendant that I added. It was still really fun though. I guess maybe next time if you could just get a little bit more letter beads, I guess it would be, but like then again, it's just one of those things. You work with what you have, and that makes a friendship bracelet. There's also a tie-dye station that operated much in the same way as the friendship bracelet station. I didn't end up doing it because I was going to do it the second day, but that's when I got sick. But I did purchase a bunch of white bandanas for my bunkmates because I wanted to make sure everybody had at least something to tie-dye, because I noticed in one of the emails that they sent, they were like, oh yeah, bring something to tie-dye, and I almost forgot. And so I was like, oh my god, what if other people forget, you know? So I just wanted to make sure people could tie-dye something if they wanted to. And I'm kind of sad that I didn't get to do it, but it's just kind of the way the cookie crumbled. I'm happy that that option was there though. There's also, they called it a card making station, but what it really was just a bunch of greeting cards, empty greeting cards and markers. I thought that it was going to be like a cutout paper, hole punch paper, and like glue shit together, like make your own card station. But that's not what that was. That was a little bit disappointing, but like, you know, with everything else going on, not the biggest deal in the world. Then there was a great feast, which was sort of like this whole event where everybody dressed up in like their fantasy clothes, and you know, you had a great dinner or whatever, and then you danced and got drunk and had a grand old time. I unfortunately did not go to that one either because I was sick and I was also overstimulated. I heard the music coming from the dance hall or like the dining hall. And I was like, I don't think I'm cut out for this today, unfortunately. And so I didn't go, but the videos I've seen looked like a fucking blast. And so I'm really glad people got to go to that and experience that. I don't even necessarily have FOMO because I know I would have been miserable if I did go. So, you know, I was fine just sitting that one out. During the Great Feast / after, there was also the Moonlight Market, which was basically a bunch of vendors coming in, bunch of authors. You could go buy their stuff. That also looked like a lot of fun. Again, I didn't go because I was sick, but also I wasn't really planning on buying much anyway because I was kind of on a bit of a budget, but it still looks really fun. And I'm also glad that there was an opportunity for vendors to come and make some money. There was also this game night, movie night thing, which had really good potential, but unfortunately the game night specifically just fell flat. I did go to these. There was bingo and then there was trivia. Okay. And we only did like 2 rounds of bingo because they handed out the cards and were giving people pens to mark off their bingo cards, which does not make for a very fun night of bingo because you can only, again, run it a couple times. Next time, just like get some pieces of paper and like cut them up so that people can cover their numbers and it won't be a problem and you can just play as much as you want. That's my advice. And then there was trivia, which also did not go super well. You know, in most trivia games, teams will have a piece of paper that they like write their answers on and then they go like hand them to the MC and they're then like scored. That didn't happen at this trivia. It was just, we're going to ask you a trivia question and you all raise your hands and the first person I call on, if they get it right, blah, blah, blah. Like, and my table was at the back of the dining hall where this was occurring. So we were overlooked quite a bit. And it was a little bit frustrating, but again, it was just kind of like the nature of the way the game was set up. So it's not like the biggest deal in the world, but also it's like, okay, this is a little bit silly. I think that specifically could have definitely been planned a lot better. I don't know if it was like a last minute thing or if they had planned to do this from the beginning. If it was last minute, totally understand why those sorts of things would be overlooked. But if this was actually an event that they had prepared for months, I don't understand how it was overlooked in the way that it was. But I'm not privy to the secrets of the event runners. After game night, they had a movie night. We watched Ella Enchanted. It was Ella Enchanted. It was good. I liked it, but I kind of tapped out halfway through because I got really tired. And that's when I started getting sick. So how did I know all this stuff was happening? Great question. There was a website. It was initially supposed to be an app so that people could get notifications and stuff, but I guess the way that timelines go, it just didn't align. And so instead there was a website, like a web page that we had to visit to look at the schedule of events and pick what we wanted to do, et cetera, et cetera. It was a little confusing at first, but after like the first day, you know, it became a little bit more intuitive. Before I wanted to do something, I had to check the website, make sure that nothing changed, bada bing, bada boom. Oh shit. Yeah, there was also like a Q&A with Rachel Gillig, which is kind of like the reason why I was reading her books to begin with before the camp. But I was sick. I was not feeling well. My head was hurting. So I ended up not going. The clips that I saw were really cool. She seems like a great woman, very cool, very down to earth, I suppose. Happy for her. She signed a lot of people's books. I heard she was really funny and very kind and gracious, and she was like passing out drinks from the bar cart and stuff, which sounded really fun. So, you know, I'm glad she came to the camp. I'm glad people got to like have that Q&A with her. I'm a little bit disappointed that I missed it, but nothing can really be done about that. You know what I mean? So, great event. All in all, okay, it was a really fun camp experience. I think the price was reasonable enough to me to justify purchasing it. Again, like the value isn't quite there, quote unquote, because that's just the nature of running an event. Obviously, I wasn't going to drink enough alcohol to offset the cost of my bar package. Like, I would have died. Despite the value not quite being what it quote unquote needed to be to break even, I still think the price was quite reasonable. I made some great new friends. I loved the freebies. Like, oh shit, I didn't even mention this. We were all sorted into houses, like dragon houses. I didn't get the one I wanted, sadly, but like we got a free t-shirt. Well, I say free t-shirt, like I got a t-shirt and it came with the package. There's like a little goodie bag that we got. There's like a branded pen and like a notebook. And I think these jelly eye patches for like under eye circles or something, which seemed a little random, but like it was still nice. It was still like a nice little goodie. The food was there. The food was camp food. It was nothing super extravagant, but it was food. It existed, gave us sustenance, and it wasn't like rotting, right? So like that's all you can really ask for at that point. But overall, it was just like a much needed weekend of being a goober with other people who also liked being goobers. You know what I mean? So like amazing. I'm so happy that I went, and I would go again, not next year. Maybe the year after, or maybe in a couple more years, because of reasons I explained earlier. I just have other budgetary restrictions. I have other things I want to do also. I don't think this is necessarily like a one and done event, but it's more like, okay, I experienced it this time. I don't really think I'm going to be missing out on the next 2 or 3. So, I'll let other people attend the camp instead. For the most part, everything was really smooth. A lot of the, issues were kind of minor and not really a big deal. None of them really negatively impacted my overall experience at all. It was a good time overall. Like the pros outweighed the cons for sure. The cons were just like mildly annoying things that nobody could really control. You know what I mean? Some of the side events, like I said earlier, they were kind of poorly planned, but what can you really do about it except hope that they improve the next time? Despite a few of the operational kinks, it was still really good. So like, the website app thing, I think some of the t-shirts that you could like purchase on the side, the mock-ups were not the same as what was actually delivered. So the people who did buy those shirts did, I think, get partial refunds, which was really good and very kind of the event runners. The event runners acted with integrity in that regard, and I really appreciated that. Something I also noticed was that there was like an overlap in events. And I understand that some of that overlap was to prevent too many people from coming to different paid events at the same time, right? I'm sure everybody wanted to do everything all the time, but the overlap, or like sometimes they would just like, the times would butt up right against each other. So if you wanted to do warrior training, but also a candle making class, warrior training ended at 10, but the candle making also started at 10. So there was like no transit time really factored into that, which was kind of disappointing. It made things a little bit difficult for some, but like again, I understand why they made those overlaps. I'm not entirely confident that it worked out in the way that the event runners expected it to, though, if that makes sense. But that's just me. Another little thingy that I noticed was that some of the events, or a lot of the events actually, started early. Normally I wouldn't care, because normally I'm a person who shows up like 5 minutes, 10 minutes early to things. So it never really impacts me. But when I'm on vacation, I'm running maybe 3 minutes early, if not just entirely on time. And so when I arrive at an event that has already started, but I'm on time, it's just kind of annoying. It was a little annoying. I felt kind of rushed in that way, but I understand people are excited. People want to get things done. Maybe they assume everybody's already there because everybody else is excited, and like, again, and nothing ran so early that I was like missing out on much, but it just kind of felt not great to like be exactly on time to something and have the event already like starting. But that's just the way that it was. There's nothing I could have done when I'm used to just things maybe starting a couple minutes late too. Like even being on time would be technically early because people want to give the stragglers a chance to like get in and get settled, but that there was no sense of that at some of the events. And again, despite all of these cons, despite all of these like little annoyances, I still had a really good time. And that's also including the fact that I was sick for half of it. So even though I didn't attend half of the events, even though I didn't like do any of that, the relaxation that I got from being at the camp alone was perfect. So I still liked that a lot. So overall, I want to give the camp like 4 out of 5 stars. But there is one thing that I wanted to mention, and this isn't something that anybody had control over. So I don't want to factor it into my evaluation of Camp Unbound, because none of the event runners, none of the staff really could have done anything about this. But it is something that I wanted to bring attention to, and also maybe make a recommendation for, just because, in my opinion, you have the question of people's safety. I know how it's going to sound. I just need you to like follow me until I like get to where I'm going, okay? When there is an event that is directed mostly towards women and a man purchases a ticket and shows up, isn't on staff, just decides to come, I'm side-eyeing that guy. Now, he's not immediately untrustworthy, right? And I'm not necessarily uncomfortable by a man existing in a space like this, but it does make me wonder, why are you here? Why did you, like, what made you want to come to this thing that's mostly women who like to read fantasy, who like to read romance, who are also drunk off their asses? Why did you think this was something you wanted to come to, right? But again, I don't know this guy. You know, he could have just wanted to come, and that's fine. So I shrug it off. It's whatever. I'm not bothered. And then I hear that this guy is apparently giving other women massages. Again, not a crime, not even necessarily dubious. But again, this is an event where a lot of women are coming who read fantasy, who read romance, and who are also really drunk. And you're offering them massages, okay? It is an interesting choice. But again, not a crime. And I guess none of what happened, to my knowledge, is a crime, right? Something maybe could have happened behind the scenes, but I don't know. But it gets a little bit more dubious, right? And then I reach my limit when I hear on the last day of camp that this man has kissed / made out with at least 2 women within hours of each other. Now, it's not a crime to kiss multiple people. It's not a crime to flirt with people or anything like that. I get it, okay? But from a health perspective, I just don't like it. I work in cancer research, okay? I am all about informed consent. And I know that if I was in that situation, if I was flirting with a guy and he told me that he had kissed somebody maybe a few hours prior, that would change my answer. I would no longer want to kiss that guy. And I know for a fact that this man did not tell other women that he had been involved with other people that same night. And that is where I start having a problem with it. Because oral herpes or cold sores, even though they are not seemingly connected to any major health problems like heart disease or like cancer or anything like that, cold sores alone are kind of enough of a confidence killer, especially for women, that I personally view it as a larger health issue, like a safety issue. Not because I think it will kill people to have cold sores, but because I think it just causes enough problems with the individual socially that it's like, I think it's something that everybody should be taking more seriously. All right, I lied. HSV1 or oral herpes can be a much larger issue than I actually originally thought, because I was editing this and I was like, you know, I really need to look into this. I need to make sure that I'm not just like being crazy, but it's true. And it makes sense the more I think about it. When you think about the fact that your mouth is so close to your brain and so close to your throat, which is close to your lungs and your heart, it makes so much sense why this is raising such big flags in my head. And I'm going to link all of these in my description box because I want to like give sources for what I'm actually quoting here. But there are preliminary studies that are showing that HSV type 1 and 2 can increase your atherosclerosis risk, which is statistically significant for like COPD or having strokes, not COPD, coronary artery disease, not the same thing, stroke, peripheral artery disease, all of that stuff, hypertension, diabetes, all of this, like there is a correlation there. They're not necessarily saying that that's what causes it, but it seems to increase the risk of these things. There's also a study that links herpes simplex to increased risks of dementia. Now, I don't know about you guys, but my family does have a history of dementia and Alzheimer's, and I don't want to increase my risk of that because that is a very terrifying disease to experience, even from the outside. I can't imagine what it's like to have it yourself. If you get HSV1, like oral herpes, it can become genital herpes. It doesn't make it HSV2, but it can break out, I guess, on the genitals, which will then increase your risk of getting other infections, other STDs. It's kind of insane. And then if you're not careful, if it's bad enough, it can go to your eyes. HSV can make you blind. It can infect your brain, your central nervous system. And before you know it, you could die from something like this. And I know it's a very niche, very rare thing for this to happen, but all it takes is once. I know. I know how it sounds. And I'm not here to like promote purity culture. I'm not here saying that you shouldn't kiss anybody ever. right? But I do think that if you're going to engage in risky behavior, such as being involved with multiple people in one night, you should probably know the risks involved, the risk that you are putting onto yourself, but also the other people that you're involving yourself with. Because genuinely, if you don't seem to care about what you're doing to others, I don't really think you're a good person. So anyway, there are other risk factors that come along with contracting oral herpes or any type of herpes. And it's not even just in the short term, it is with your long-term health as well. And I don't think that playing around with that, even unintentionally, is cool. So this actually is a big deal, and we should be talking more about it, and we should be taking it very seriously. Okay, bye. Now, I know not everybody agrees, and I know I probably sound like a huge ass prude right now. I totally get it. But I cannot shake the feeling that this is actually like a hazard. And I only know of 2 people this happened to. There could have been more. And there could have definitely been, a situation where maybe things went farther with someone else. And in that case, it just kind of becomes a bigger and bigger problem. I did not like learning that something like that happened on the camp. And I'm not even sure if any of the event runners know about it. Again, there's nothing they could have done about it. And we're all adults at this camp, right? We're capable of making our own decisions and stuff like that. But also, people are very drunk at this camp. And allegedly, this guy doesn't drink. I think people were saying that he smoked weed. So I guess he wasn't fully sober, but he definitely was probably a lot more sober than the women that he was trying to get involved with. And I really, really, really don't like that. So for the safety of the majority of the people attending this camp, I feel like it would be most appropriate to make it a women's only event. Now, I know you can't always control that. Like I said, I don't know if I actually said this yet. Some of the staff were men. The videographers that were there were men. Like the people running the bar were men. That's not necessarily something that can be helped, but I think ticket sales should just be for women. And I know, especially during Pride Month, I know how this sounds. Like, oh, what about trans women? What about trans men? What about this? What about non-binary people? Like, I get it. That is a consideration that I don't really have an answer for, because it's not my event and I'm not running it. And I understand that no matter what decision you make, you run the risk of leaving a protected group of people out. And that is just the nature of making that sort of decision. If I were running the show, I would make the tickets available to anyone but cis dudes. And I know people who are not cis dudes are also capable of being skeevy and advantageous and predatory. I'm not denying that whatsoever. However, we live in a society. We live in a society, and that society is built on racism and misogyny. Those are the 2 big things that influence absolutely everything. Everyone's thought processes and decisions and biases. It affects everything, okay? And so I'm not suggesting this because I think an all-women's camp is quote unquote inherently safer. I mean, no, actually, that is what I'm saying. In the pursuit of safety for women, I just think it's I would feel a lot better if it was just a quote unquote women's only event at that point. And also from the other side, right? I think it would just be better overall if it were only women, because, drunk women who read a lot of romance are going to inherently flock to any guy who shows up at this camp, which then probably could make another man feel unsafe, depending on who they are, depending on how they experience the camp, right? It just seems overall, if cis dudes could just not be included in the ticket sales, I think ultimately it would lead to perhaps a safer experience, given what I have learned about one specific man who just ruined it for a few people, which is really unfortunate. But like I said, nobody could have done anything about that. That's not an operational problem. That's just a dude being a fucking asshole problem. I hope he doesn't show up to any of the other ones, because that would really suck. And especially if he is known for taking advantage of the situation that he's in, I would really hate for that to continue being a thing. Yeah. This is all feedback that I'm giving to the camp, the people running the camp specifically, but it's also a good opportunity to just talk about this event, so that other people can decide if they want to go next year or the years following. Maybe get the word out a little bit if word has not gotten out about the event as a whole. I think overall, if you're curious about going, I very definitely suggest going. I don't recommend talking to any of the men that are there, though. Not because I think men bad, but I do think that, especially now that I know there is at least somebody who has kind of used the situation to his advantage, I just be a little bit wary, I suppose. Protect yourselves, protect your hearts, protect your mouths. Okay. But yeah, no, Camp Unbound, really good, really awesome event. So that's really all I had to talk about. If anybody has questions about the event or wants to know more, I'll link the Instagram to the entity that runs Camp Unbound. There are a lot of other things that they're running, like fiction balls or something, or there's like a reader's retreat in one of the Carolinas, I think, maybe New Jersey, I don't know. There are other events going on that aren't like Camp Unbound, or like smaller things, if you wanted to check those out as well. Those also look fun. I might attend one of the other ones at some point. But yeah, that's that was my experience at Camp Unbound. Definitely recommend, honestly. So yeah, that's all I got. Like and subscribe, because I had a great time. And that kind of rhymed. Thank you for sticking around. I'll see you next time.